What's up, guys? Originally started out to make like a 3-minute video or something like that on the assignment, the audit, and everything coming up. But after going through some of the proposals, this might be way longer. So hopefully it will be helpful though. So pulling out some tools. I got really cool conversations with people the last few days on, okay, how do I find this information? What questions do I ask? Like, kind of what are the expectations? So let's walk through it. And if there's questions from this, great. We'll hang out. That'll be fine. Okay, as you already know, if you were at the course introduction, it's really like kind of a dual path class, right? The first part is some essays and an oral exam. That's cake. There's no trouble. The second path is where really all of the work is, and that's the audit. Okay, so it's more points in terms of like how the course is laid out, but by far the vast majority of the work. And now that I think folks are seeing that and that's percolating, more questions are coming up, so it's great, more time for us to hang out. So I want to use a couple maybe analogies and kind of go macro level down to micro level. So how do I do this? What are the steps? We'll conclude with that today. Here's the big idea in terms of order. You have 15 of those functional areas, and I spoke to one person recently that didn't know where they were. So we're going to show you that too. 15 of those functional areas. And the question is, what is the firm doing right now in terms of all of these human capital processes or human capital systems? What are they doing right now? A snapshot of today. The second part is, what does the best research say that they should be doing? Like what do we know that works really, really well, that's been tested, peer-reviewed, multi-level, multinational, right? Meta-analysis that tells us, hey, it's a good idea to hire people with this method and not with this method. The next one is pretty clear. What's the gap? So from where they are to where they should be, how wide is that gap? And then your prescriptions to close that gap. So in effect, acting as a consultant for that company. I am not a car guy at all, but the analogy here makes sense to me that if your air conditioner, parting of your heating and cooling system, your air conditioner is not working well, that doesn't mean that the entire system is broken, right? It just means there's something that needs to be fixed. A car is full of all kinds of different systems, right? Electrical systems or ventilation, whatever the systems are. An organization is the exact same way. And you will uncover systems that work just fine. Like in your car right now, most of your systems probably work just fine. And then a check engine light comes on, like, oh, okay, there's something wrong there. Doesn't mean the system is broken. It means that there's something that needs to be fixed. I turn my heater on, it works fine, right? I turn my air conditioner on and it's not getting cold. Okay, that just means there's a tweak to the system that needs to be fixed somewhere. It's sort of like that. We're looking at a system level, and there are resources on Canvas, the very first module, in case you didn't know, where it says Schirmbach. That's the list of the 15, a list and a description of those 15 functional areas. Basically everything that you're going to audit, okay? So what's a firm doing now on each one of those? We'll explain how to get that. And then what does the best research say? So the second link there, under Module 1, it's a really short little paper by Dave Ulrich, and it's kind of an appetizer. It's kind of a primer, like, okay, how do human managers think about these things? It's short, it's helpful, but if you want like best research by world-class experts, that's not going to be it. That's just to get you thinking. An intro here would be the Handbook of Principles of Org Behavior by Ed Locke, and I'll show you that as well here in just a second. Identify the gap, close the gap. Okay. Let's look at the SHRM body of competency and knowledge really quick, just to make sure we've got this. So here's what it looks like. This is just the table of contents. I'll scroll down. I'll go down to, I think, 38. Page 38 is what I was looking at earlier. Where are we? Ooh, a few more. Okay. So this is the second functional area. Okay. Talent acquisition. So you're going to audit your company on how do they do, read the definition, activities building and maintaining a workforce that meets the needs of the organization. So if I'm talking with an HR manager, or if I'm doing online research, I'm going to say, how does my company build a workforce? How does my company maintain that workforce? How does my company identify the needs, the human needs for the organization? Those are like simple starter conversations. If you're talking to an HR person or manager, if you're not a manager there already, like how do we know how many people we need? And how do we know how many different skills we need? Do we use forecasting tools for that? Do we just ask managers what they think and see if we have the budget for it? Like what's that process? Okay. Further on talent acquisition, it includes onboarding. The question is, how does the company onboard people? There's 50 years of research that says, here's the best way to onboard people. But the first question is, how's your company doing it right now? How does your company source talent? Do they mainly hire from outside? Do they promote from within? If they hire from outside, do they pay another company, a staffing company, to do that? Do they pay headhunters to find certain positions like executives? Do they have pipelines and recruiters? So how do they source talent? Do they have all the different employment categories, right? Salaried, hourly, all that kind of stuff. So you can see the list here. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. But you guys, this is just a one-pager on when we say talent acquisition, this is what we mean. All the description is here. The question is, how is your company doing talent acquisition? And there's obviously 15 of these. You go to the next one, functional area, number 3, employee engagement and retention. All the description is right there. So this is your starting place. Before you put, hand to keyboard or talk with people and start interviewing and start kind of bringing your thoughts together, this has to be the starting place because this sets the boundary conditions and the definitions of all the terms that you're going to be going through. Okay, let's get back to this. What's next? Conducting research. Okay, let's talk about this for a minute. In some of the proposals that came in, I've told everybody that I'm going to go talk to my senior HR manager and we're going to do an audit. That means, you guys who are in accounting, you know this, you've had accounting classes, that's usually scary. Audit means like there may be something wrong here and golly gee, Sarbanes-Oxley or the IRS, or you're going to go to jail. I'd avoid using that word just relationally. It is the correct word conceptually, it's the correct word because an audit is how are we doing compared to how should we be doing. But people can get very insecure not only about that word, but like, who is this, MBA student that thinks they know something. So a lot of humility there. I'd probably avoid that word. You can call it a human capital project or a management project. It's a management project for my MBA class. That's fine. As you're getting information, always remember multi-source information is more valid than single source. So you're not going to go to one Wall Street Journal write-up on your company and be like, oh, I guess I understand it now. You're not going to talk to one HR manager and say, I guess I understand it now. Has to be multiple sources. You want to include that, of course, in your write-up. I'll show you an example of what I mean here in a minute on filter the electronic noise. But if you're searching for something, you're going to get, right, it's the age of information, right? You're going to get a ton of information. Some of it will be garbage. Some of it will be helpful. So you're going to have to filter that, and I can help you with that if you want me to. Also, keep in mind that insiders who work at the company, it's really cool. They've got like kind of a unique edge. They're usually really helpful, and they're also usually really biased. They think it's the best or they think it's the worst. But remember, they only see kind of one piece of the pie from their position. So just because somebody said, this is how we do it at Starbucks, it doesn't actually mean that's how they do it at Starbucks. You have to validate that through multi-source information gathering. And as you're conducting research on the firm, here's the goal. Learn the existing process and content. Again, what are they doing now? How do they do talent acquisition now? Which is a stack of things, right? Hiring and salary negotiation and onboarding and orientation. Okay, this should be fun. You might get a kick out of this. Let's do a couple examples here. So let's go over to Google Scholar. And let's say that your company does retail. So I'm going to say talent acquisition strategies and just see what Google Scholar tells me. Okay? I'm going to move this over if I can. There we go. You might be able to see that a little better. Talent acquisition strategies, comprehensive examination. Wow, what a title. That's great. Okay, it's okay. Cited by 24 people. You can see it here. And if you want to cite any of these things, right? Like you're going to build them into your paper. Like if you read it and you're like, oh, that's cool. Like I'm going to build that in my argument. You don't need to do like 7th grade, we go through and like our colons and everything. Just hit this little button right here that says cite on any one of them. It gives you the citation in every format you want. Just go with APA for our class. You can click it, literally control copy, and you're building your reference page. You don't need to type all those things out. So that's Google Scholar. They're all there. But let's say it didn't really fit me. I put in talent acquisition. It wasn't there. So, because gosh, my company is actually in retail. That's the company that I'm auditing. So I put talent acquisition in retail. And this will get you a little bit closer. Industrial trends on talent acquisition, or examining challenges and opportunities of talent acquisition and recruitment in urban retail stores. Well, heck, like if that's you, that's probably something that's worth reading right there. So you can get creative with how you search, but Google Scholar is basically access to thousands and thousands of libraries and the best research in the world. There's also garbage in there, but it's free access to all of those things. And if you see a little link over here on the right, can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Kind of where my mouse is right there. Those are links to the full text, so the full manuscript of all of these papers, so you can get them for free. You don't have to do, library, interlibrary loan, anything like that. It's all right there on Google Scholar. EdLock. Let's do that one. This is important. So this is our Canvas page, and under modules, you'll see right here it says Handbook of Principles of Organizational Behavior. I said this in the class intro, but I know not everybody was able to make it. This guy's a boss. Like if you've ever done like goal setting theory, if you ever heard of like SMART goals, like he's the guy that invented it, right? So he took all of his super nerdy, super smart people and brought them together and said, okay, you're the world's expert on hiring. Will you write a chapter for my book? Will you write a chapter for my book? All the way down. He edited it. So I'll get down to the table of contents. Okay, here we go. So the first one is human selection, okay? Frank Schmidt, the guy that basically invented meta-analysis, did it on how do you hire for intelligence and how do you not hire for intelligence. Murray Barrick and James Mount, if you've ever taken a Big 5 personality test in your life, or ever heard of the Big 5 personality, those are the guys that invented it. Like in 1991, they published it, Costa McCrae, and then them. This is good stuff, and at the bottom of these chapters are pages of references that can take you right to what you want. So anyway, all that to say, on Google Scholar, there'll be some good stuff and some garbage. Everything in here is rock solid. It's a great starting place. It has training, performance appraisal, how to deal with turnover and satisfaction. So part 3 is our third functional area, right? Engagement, strategies, retention. Okay, let me go back to where we were. Gen AI. Okay. Gen AI is super helpful. So the more specific and that you are in terms of the prompts, the better stuff you get. Everybody knows this by now. So I just said, hey, a student in the class is doing their audit on Trader Joe's. I'm in an MBA program conducting research on how the company Trader Joe's does talent acquisition. It's just one of those functional areas. I need to know, nice spelling, Davey. I need to know what how Trader Joe's does this and how they could do it better. Make me a table with column 1 being their current practice, column 2 being what peer-reviewed research with citations, super important, says they should do in each of the areas. And then the 5 rows should be, just for fun, I threw in the 5 functional areas, FA areas 1 through 5. Okay, so just threw it in. In this case, I did Copilot, and this is what it came up with. And it says, hey, here's a graduate level MBA comparison. Well, maybe Copilot. We'll decide if it is. But anyway, so current practice, decentralized store-level HR decision-making to align with local culture and customs makes sense. And there's a report there from Harvard Business School on how Trader Joe's does it. So you didn't actually have to talk to somebody to figure out that information. It came right up. What should they be doing? Well, here's what they should be doing, and here's the peer-reviewed citation that says they should do it. Minimal articulation of strategy, Instead, adopt a scenario-based HR strategy model. So the whole table is here. There's 5 recommendations for strategic planning, 5 recommendations for talent acquisition, all the way down the line. It doesn't mean that everything in here is perfect. It doesn't mean that everything in here is perfect, but it does mean that it's a starting place to kind of help framing. I recommend, in terms of a process, first start with the HR body of knowledge, what we just did, the HR body, and just go through it for those 5 areas, get a rough idea of what it is, and then you can start with Gen AI, but it's not going to get you there. You're certainly not going to cut and paste it, right? The sources will be helpful. If you cut and paste it, it'll be garbage, sniffed out, flagged, blah, blah. Like, it needs to be your synthesis, nobody else's synthesis. And Gen AI is only one source, and electronic citations are only one source. So that should be helpful. And if you're like absolutely stuck, I have no idea where to start, then take a prompt like this and say, this is who I am, this is what I want to know, and you can paste in some of the SHRM body of knowledge stuff, and you say, I need to know how this company is doing and how they could do it better, and give me citations for both. And that'll, again, give you a starting place. What should it look like when you're all done? There are examples. Right there in Canvas, you click modules, examples, you can see the top here, human capital audit, functional areas 1 through 5. There's 3 of them there that'll give you a rough idea of how that is. If you want to see, like, what should this thing look like when I'm done, there's 2 examples at the bottom that I thought were good. One example for depth and breadth, and the other example for depth and specificity, which tends to be where people get hung up. So let's talk about that. I want to go through a few big ideas or common mistakes. Number 1 is underestimating the amount of work this project's going to be. It is a crap ton of work. It's a scientific term, of course. It's just a lot of work, right? You go, well, I found, that they hire people or they train people like this. If somebody told you that, I'm not going to believe it. You got to back it up, right? You got to back it up with logic and evidence and argument. Every one of these is just big. I mean, you can call me on it. We don't want to get into paralysis by analysis, right? Like, there's so much here, I don't know where to start. Start getting the low-hanging fruit right off the bat, and those methods that we just did with either generative AI or the SHRM or the EdLock book or whatever it is. But it just, heads up, it's a lot of work. Very frequently, people, so this was last quarter, people will submit and they begin their submission with, I'm embarrassed what happened here, I'll do better next time. It's not the kind of thing, you're not writing this 72 hours out. You're not going to start writing this stuff 72 hours before the deadline and pass on it. And pass. Don't do that. It's a ton of work. Number 2, don't tell me what you think. We're here to learn. Don't tell me, well, in my opinion, here's what Starbucks should do. Don't care. What is the current state of what Starbucks is doing? What does the best research say Starbucks should be doing? Identify the gap, close the gap, right? This is not personal judgment, it's data synthesis. Keep opinions out of it, observations, facts, and data. Big idea number 3, it's breadth and it's depth. It's both, right? So breadth, try to hit all of the content inside each functional area, and it's also depth, and the big one is specificity. For those of you that are working in your company, this shouldn't be a challenge. For those of you who are auditing a company that you're not working in, this will be your biggest challenge. If it's a big company, again, someone's doing Trader Joe's, awesome, you're going to get all kinds of stuff, but everything's going to be at a general level. Without specific data, you can't solve specific problems. This is the biggest challenge. They use a decentralized HR decision-making model. Great, what is that? Who is that? Where is that? Give me an example of that. Because you can read on Gen AI or in Google Scholar, they used a decentralized model. I don't accept that as evidence because they said it. Give me an example. Be specific. So specificity is the big thing. If you read your first couple pages, and if after every couple sentences, I want you to imagine me looking at it and going, how do you know? How do you know? Or prove it, prove it, prove it, prove it, all the way down. That's going to mean it's not specific enough. So that's a big challenge. Here's some examples to get specificity. What was this? Oh, this was Starbucks. Just doing HR planning for Starbucks. Again, came from Gen AI and just said, give me specific scenarios or specific examples of how Starbucks is doing HR strategic planning and how they could be doing it better. And these were fine, Reuters and Bloomberg, and it's just saying, here's what we said, here's what a company person said, and here's the data to back it up. Big idea number 5. This is where your tables, charts, graphs, and figures. If you go through this and you say, boy, they really do not do employee retention well. You know what they should do, what I'm going to say is build a process, build a flow chart, build a timeline, build an execution plan. This is taking us like to the next level of, I see where they're at, I see where they should be, I see they should close the gap, and then me in terms of a practitioner, I go, then do it. Like close the gap. And you're saying, I'm not going to walk into the Starbucks boardroom and close the gap. And I say, I totally know that. But if by chance you did, what would you bring? Like, show me what they should be doing. Don't just tell me, show me what they should be doing different. That's like upper echelon, high end, crushing the class kind of stuff if you can do that well. Okay. Yeah, we got that. We're good here. Submissions. If you get a 25, keep doing that. You're probably doing fine. You can get a 25 on all these pre-submissions and totally bomb the final. So we'll get to that when we get to the end. What you don't want to do is submit this, functional areas 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, submit them, and then cut and paste into a big document and be like there it is. The reason we're doing these pre-submissions is to make sure that we're making progress along the way. They are not going to be final products, polished and ready at all. As close as you can, it's great, but they're not going to be ready. If you got a 20, that just means you need to go back and look at the examples, and I'll usually tell you, hey, lack specificity or solve problem. Don't just tell me there's a problem here, solve the problem. I'll usually do pretty good on feedback. But if you got a 20, that means whatever you did right there, don't do it again. If you get below a 20, that means call AV, and we need to jump on a Zoom, and we need to figure it out. Okay. 22-minute video. You guys, I'm so sorry, but that was hopefully this was helpful with all of the different tools. And I know I speak fast, and so it might be helpful to watch it twice. It is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.